Hello everyone, welcome back to the new year. This is a new year, new Broke Boy Custom, and I just been putting a lot of time into trying to upgrade the channel for the new year. This is including, me upgrading my equipment, upgrading my software, and now I'm finally happy to announce that Broke Boy Custom has its very own shop. It's a nice little 300 square foot shop space, nothing too fancy, nothing with no lifts or nothing like that, but it's finally a space of my own where I can, take projects apart and actually work on them and not have to worry about having to push things in and out and having to compensate for other people being in the workplace. This is very exciting stuff, guys, and I'm so happy to be bringing this forward. I've been taking a whole bunch of editing classes, as you guys have seen. I'm just very excited to elevate this for everyone. If you like this new style, please remember to leave a like. It really helps the channel out, and comment things you like and things you don't like about this video. But moving forward, I wanted to talk about a couple of things. I was reminiscing this New Year's experience and looking back at old footage and just thinking about some of the older cars that I've had, and I thought it'd be a cool thing to kind of share with you guys all of the past cars I've owned and semi-owned through my teenage years up to now. A lot of these cars are the reason why I have the skills that I have, and they're the reason why I am the person that I am. I've never owned a brand new car, and on very rare occasions I've owned a car that's younger than me, and that's just kind of my lifestyle. I buy cars on the cheap. As long as I see that the bones of the car are good, I keep it, and when the repairs get too expensive, I go on to the next one. It's kind of my way of staying green, recycling, even though the carbon emissions may not be as good as a brand new car. In my mind, adding to the need for new vehicles and to add production to new vehicles is a greater impact short term than the carbon emissions that these cars put out. So let's start off with number one, my very first vehicle, Dora, my 1994 Ford Explorer. Before you ask, yes, most of these cars have names. Dora was a fun car, and it was my first vehicle. It was my dad's. He used it for a while, let my sister use it for a while, and then it sat in the yard for about, I believe, 7 years. I was taking automotive in high school, and the time came around and I was turning 16. I got my permit, and I wanted to be prepared for when I turned 18 and got my license. So I was 17 and I looked in my backyard. There was a 94 Explorer. I think it was like a couple broken Toyotas that I couldn't get, and I believe a minivan or something like that. Of course, I picked the Explorer. Really nice car. Eddie Bauer edition. I believe it had 70,000 miles when I got it. Like, if I got a car like that today, I would absolutely baby that thing. But because it was my first car, I was a teenager, I was stupid. I'm like, man, it's just an SUV, whatever. I'll haul my music equipment in. I'll haul my friends around in it. It'll be a good time. But, I didn't appreciate it for what it was. It had the nice running boards that were rotted out. It had power seats with lumbar support. For a 94 Explorer, that was amazing. It had cruise control. Some of my newer cars don't even have that. Overall, it was a really cool truck. So onward, I go to college, to Universal Technical Institute, and from there, I was driving the Explorer, and everyone in the parking lot had cooler cars than me, and my image of the Explorer just went down, 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 down. My dad, at that point, he got a new vehicle. He was currently driving a 98 Ford Windstar. When I was in my permit days, me and my buddy would drive that thing around. He actually got his license before me. My dad was so cool. He'd throw his keys to his vehicle that he drives. He would throw it to his son's dumbass friends, and we'd just go and drive all night, and it was a good time. The van had a lot of rotting problems, and it got to a point where my dad just needed to let it go. Sold it to a neighbor for real cheap, and he also got a free Honda Accord 5-speed manual. I was so stoked over this thing because I'm like, oh, it's a car. It's not, an old SUV. it's standard. You know, it could be a little bit cooler. Like, it's a little bit cooler in my 18-year-old mindset. When I went to UTI, I was switching between the Explorer and that, and my dad was really cool about it. Sometimes I'd have like no gas, so I would drive across state, switch vehicles with him, take the Accord because I knew the Accord was way better on gas. I would just use that and be able to pay $5 a week in gas on it. The back seat of that car was dry, but if you sit in that back seat for more than 25 minutes, you get out and your butt feels wet. And it was the weirdest phenomenon. There was no leaks. I could not figure it out. I had to put like a towel in the back of picked up my friends in it. The Accord was a very important part of me developing my driving of standard. I burned the crap out of that clutch. It was a good car. I didn't respect it enough because, you know, it was a free car. But, you know, looking back, it was an awesome vehicle. When we got it, there was no radio in it. We assumed it was stolen. The wires were like melted. So either it got stolen and someone put another one in and the wires got hot, or someone didn't wire one in correctly. My dad's in his garage of infinite parts. He found like an old GM analog AM FM radio. And he installed that thing in there just so he can play his tapes. You know, if you're Spanish, you know the Hibaro music. You know what I mean? Me and my friends will also jam to that. Like, my friend, shout out to Zachary Pesha, he would love either one of my dad's cars because he would just push one of his tapes in and we would just jam out to that stuff. No idea what they're saying, but just jam out. So moving forward, I'm still in school and I'm still kind of in that I need a cooler car phase, because a lot of the other students, they have Mustangs, they have cool motorcycles, you know, they just have cool projects, and like my self-esteem for the Explorer just kept going lower, and lower. So, you know, I had in my mind that I wanted to buy another vehicle. Even though the Explorer was, you know, registered to my dad and it was under his insurance and I wasn't paying a lick of that, it was in my mind that I needed to get my own car. Some time passed and I was looking around at some Rangers. My sister took me to this guy who had two Ford Rangers for sale. One was a 99, one was a 2000. There was a green one that I was like, meh, I got bad vibes from this car. And there was a black one that I liked, but the shifting wasn't right. They were both manuals. Both cars just didn't give me like the right vibe. Unbeknownst to me, later on, like the next week, my dad ended up talking to this guy. He personally always wanted a standard Ranger. He used to deliver parts back in the day in a Ranger, and he fell in love with those trucks. He kind of always drove what he could. His children are now, you know, leaving the nest, and he doesn't need to have a van anymore. He decided he wanted to get a Ranger. So he goes and talks to this dude, and, you know, he talks him into trading the green one in for his Honda. And at the time, I was like, that's a dope deal. That's super cool. It was a free car. I had no respect for him. Like, cool, I have all this respect for a Ranger. Rangers are cool. You can hot rod them. You can throw things in the back of them. They're awesome vehicles. I get in and I do my thing. And I'm like, hey dad, let me borrow this for the weekend. Let me take it to the shop and give it a tune up and da. Bring it to school. I'm showing it off to my friends and we're all looking at it like, this is really cool. You know, it's really clean. It has a hard cover over the bed. It's a single cab, you know, really nice truck. And we're looking at it and we're like, why is it leaning? It's just leaning to the driver's side. That's so weird. And I'm like, yeah, might be a weak spring or something. And you know what? Next time I'm in work and I have a free minute, I'm gonna go put it up on the lift, take a peek and see what's up with it. So I go, bring it to work, brought the truck in, started to pick it up, and I just hear a crack. The truck actually started to do one of these. I'm like, oh no. I look underneath the thing, and that frame was one of the most rotted frames I've ever seen in my whole life. I tell my dad, and I'm like, dude, this frame is gone, man. On paper, he gave away his car for free, and the guy gave his truck away for free. It was an even trade. So you can't really do nothing about it. Lemon Law only covers vehicles that are $1,000 or over. Suspiciously enough, that guy was selling these Rangers at $1,000 a piece. So we got screwed. It's one of those things where my dad and myself are prepared when we buy these cheap cars that we might need an engine, we might need a transmission. We will value the car and determine how much it will take to fix it and go from there. But a frame we can't do. Frame is just a parts car. So You know, we drove around for a little bit, and I told my dad, look, by next year, let's get rid of it. Some people of my family were telling him, oh, just weld it, you know, just try to get it fixed. But, you know, I told him, like, Dad, we can't weld rust. We'd have to cut sections out of the frame until we get to solid metal, and then find thick steel and then weld that in. And then we had to be trusting our welding, and we didn't have a good welder. We had arc welders, but we didn't know how to use them, so that wasn't really an option. This is just one of like the great stories of me and my friend group. I believe the year was either 2015 or 2016. It was me, Mickey Prout, Kelly Kylie, shout out to those two awesome people. Have a podcast called Strikes Conference, go check it out. The three of us were in this Ford Ranger. We're in this truck, we go to see our friend Zach. He lives in Greenfield, we live in Chicopee, Mass. We go to see him for Christmas Eve, have a good time. We get out in the truck, we start driving, and I'm like, oh shit, we need gas. So I pull up to the gas station by Zach's house, and the pumps are closed, everything's closed. I'm like, well, we'll have to see where the next one is, you know, whatever. Just hit E. We should have enough to get, you know, to the next gas station. I'm following the GPS, hoping to see a gas station, nada. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, on the highway, there is a gas station rest stop right up the road. Let's just try to make it there. We're going on the on-ramp, and the car stalls for a second. And I'm like, and everyone in the car is just like, what was that? And I'm like, don't worry about it. And we're just going, and I'm just trying to keep it like low RPMs and low load, but I just keep stalling here and there, stalling here and there, and then it is dead. And I pull over. And then both Mickey and Kelly come over, look at me, and like, what's up? And I'm like, we're out of gas. It's like 1:30 in the morning. It's Christmas at this point. It was Christmas Eve when we started this journey. It is Christmas at this point. Mickey is pissed at me that we're out of gas. Christmas Eve, middle of winter in Massachusetts, and a car that cannot run and produces heat anymore. We were in that car for hours. Our friend Zach came to our rescue. He was mistaken on which exit we took to get on, so he had to backtrack a bunch. It took a while. Police officers did end up showing up. We tell him like, we're waiting for some gas, man. Our friend's on their way, and he was like, I got places to be, and he just took off. Sitting there with our hazards on, you know, we had the heat going until it just started blowing cold air, so we turned it off. And we're just sitting there with the hazards on, and then I'm just looking at these hazards, and they're just going dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. I'm like, ah, crap, the battery's dead. Zach shows up with the gas. Kelly is an icicle. She is this very skinny girl. She just cannot retain any heat because she's so skinny, and she was like an icicle. She hops into Zach's car, try to get some warmth as he's pouring his gas, and then he's like, are we good? I'm like, no, we're not. And he's like, what's up? I'm like, all right, I know you just got this Elantra, but I need you to give me a push with your car. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, the battery's dead, but it's standard, so just give me a good push, and then I'll pop it, and then when you see me start moving, you can lay off. And he's like, all right. Now we push the car, it starts right up. I freaking love standard cars for that. Get the car running, we get to the next gas station. I put in, you know, $5 or $10, whatever I had. Put gas in. We all cram into this freaking Ranger, and we head home. And to this day, it is still like the most brought up story around this time of year. Hey guys, I'm about to cut this one short. If I don't, this is going to be like an hour-long video, and I don't want to have you guys sit through that. But I hope you guys enjoy it. If you made it this long, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.